Welcome to Tactical Talk. This is Zain Khan. Today, the topic of our show is ISIS in the Philippines. To discuss this topic, we have with us today Max Fanni Canelles. He is a professor, medical doctor, and also the director of the Italian news magazine SocialNews, socialnews.it. Welcome to our show, Max Fanni Canelles. This is Zain Khan. It's a pleasure to have you on Tactical Talk.
Thank you.
Max, let's get to the first question. We have all heard ISIS in Syria. Since when has ISIS started its terrorist activities inside the Philippines?
Yes, well, in the Philippines, the first Islamist groups were born in the late 1990s. The name of the biggest of these groups was Abu Sayyaf. In the past, it was a main partner of the Al-Qaeda network in Southeast Asia, and several of its members were alongside bin Laden in Afghanistan. In the last 3 years, more than 60 groups in Southeast Asia pledged allegiance to Caliph al-Baghdadi. And this information is according to the International Center for Political Violence and Terrorism Research in Singapore. And in November 2014, Dabiq, the English language magazine of Islamic State, wrote about that. So unfortunately, today the influence of ISIS has spread in all Southeast Asia.
Let's get to the second question. What is the difference between the methods of operation of ISIS in the Philippines than of Syria?
Well, yes, geopolitical issues in the Middle East are dominated by Russian and American interests, first of all. In the second, by Sunni Saudi Arabian and Shiite Iranian competition. The business in the Middle East is energy-based, oil and gas mainly, and only thanks to this, it brings military activity in these areas. We have to consider how the Southeast Asia issue is completely different to the Middle East. For example, Mr. Hepilon, the head of the Abu Sayyaf group, was endorsed by ISIS as the emir for Southeast Asia in 2016. However, he didn't speak Arabic or English, and his religious knowledge was very limited. Incredible. In addition, in the Philippines, the foreign fighters come from Indonesia and Malaysia, very close country. But they have never set foot in Syria, A local news agency, Rappler, reported that just one Filipino fighter had been confirmed in Syria, only one. Of course, that like Syria, also the Philippines, the Islamist religions and Wahhabistic doctrine have been used to recruit followers, of course. However, the real reason for the separatist claims historically is that the southern islands wanted to separate from the other territories. This is the question. For example, the Moro Islamic Liberation Front, not ISIS group, has been fighting for years about this issue.
How is the military and the government of the Philippines trying to tackle this terrorist group?
Well, on the 23rd of May, the armed forces of the Philippines entered Marawi city on the island of Mindanao to fight the Islamic extremists who had taken control of the city. So the president of Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte, has declared martial law. But the Philippine army is not used to fighting in urban areas. This is the problem. like Maria City, for example. So the USA sent military aid, and it was the key to the success against ISIS. The Philippine troops confirm the importance of American army and intelligence support. The USA Special Forces taught battle skills too. In addition, the FBI offered a reward of $5 million for information about Hepilon. So, only thanks to American forces, in October, the Philippine army killed Hepilon during a battle. On the island of Mindanao, more than 800 militias were killed in the nearly 150 days of fighting, and about 1,700 hostages have been rescued. About USA, about America, Washington, in the Philippines, no longer has a military basis in the Philippines, yes. But in 1951, Mutual Defense Treaty permits the two governments to come to the aid of each other. More recent agreements have seen that American military action as advisor to Philippine forces.
Which areas in the Philippines has this war affected?
Yes. Well, Indonesia is the world's biggest Muslim majority nation. But the Philippines is the predominantly Catholic country, and only Mindanao has a significant Muslim population. For now, the struggle revolves around Marawi and Mindanao because in these places the poverty rates are higher and the education is lower than in the rest of the country.
Max, how long do you think it would take the Philippines government to tackle the menace of ISIS terrorism inside of their country?
People in the Philippines still support the USA military presence in the region. This is important. They say that the USA would defend them, of course, if they get into a conflict. But people are particularly worried about ISIS using the southern Philippines as a gateway to establish a basis in Southeast Asia. But Pew Research Center survey found that 4% of the population is in favor of ISIS. Incredible. That's 10 million people. The Islamic State's influence in the Philippines is far from over. And this terrorism inspired by ISIS will not go away for, I think, about 7 or 10 years. The death of Hepilon may come to signal the final stage of conflict in Marawi between ISIS-linked militants and the government. But now, I fear that fighters could resort to traditional types of terror attacks.
Thank you so much, Max Fanni Canelles, for being on Tactical Talk. It was a pleasure having you.
Thank you, Zain. Thank you.
This was Max Fanni Canelles, a medical doctor, professor, and also the director of the Italian news magazine Social News, socialnews.it. We were discussing ISIS in the Philippines. Until the next episode of Tactical Talk, this is Zain Khan. Take care and goodbye.